Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. It's such a pleasure to be able to chat to you today about this amazing, real edge of your seat revenge thriller. Maybe for people who aren't familiar with the G, though, you could just give us a brief intro. What can people expect when they watch your film?
Well, it's a dark thriller with a very badass older female lead, played beautifully by Dale Dickey. And yeah, it's the story is really about this one woman who's seeking revenge on a corrupt legal guardian who has destroyed her life, who's taken total control of her life in bizarrely a legal process. So that's kind of like a little nutshell of what it's all about.
And maybe you could sort of tell us a bit about the genesis of the project. I mean, I don't know how much of this is based in fact. I mean, obviously in the film, it's pointed out that it's a legal process, but I don't know how much that is true in the US. Was that your starting point, or was it more this character that you started from to tell the story?
It was definitely the character first. So the character is based largely on my own Irish grandmother. A lot of the details in the film are actually taken from her life, not all of them. It's a work of fiction, but it's definitely inspired by her. And she was just a really singular, tough, intense personality. And so that was the inspiration for the film. And then it was to take this character, this very strong female character, and put it in the context you just mentioned, which is this sort of legal guardianship kind of scam that happens in North America. I mean, there's all kinds of elder scams in North America, but this particular one, I mean, there are corporations running these things. And yeah, that's the context. And when things start to unravel, I mean, she sort of, comes out of her shell, and we see just how tough this woman really is.
Excuse my language, but they fuck with the wrong grandma.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And to bring you into the conversation, Dale, I mean, when you read this script, it must have felt like a bit of a gift. I mean, I feel like through film history, we've kind of seen these sort of older gangsters, or, sort of revenge thrillers, but they're usually male-led. Anne, as a character, must have felt so exciting. And because she's tough, but there's also real moments of vulnerability there as well. What did you think when you read the script, and why did you want to play her?
Well, everything you just said is what made me.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I've been a supporting actress throughout my long career, and I've just recently had a chance. This is my second sort of lead role, very different from the one I did a couple of years ago. But they're very few and far ever in, particularly in the Hollywood studio system. So you're going to find them in the indies, but more. Yeah, I hope there's more writers like Karl who will take advantage of just as we get older, we don't go away. And so that attracted to me to the film, obviously, was that she carries the movie and her journey from it's revealed throughout the film, of course, but she has had an interesting, mysterious past, and then this lovely life with her husband, and now they're sort of in ruins, and then they get taken advantage of. And it was a great journey to play, and I really enjoyed meeting Karl and reading this. We met on Zoom, of course, like most people do now. And I liked the script, and we talked about the violence. It was going to be secondary. It's more of a psychological thriller. And it, what a challenge. What a wonderful opportunity for me to get to play a role like this and carry it through. So, yeah, jump on it quickly.
And what kind of preparation was maybe involved in taking on the role? And, I guess both in terms of her emotional, like inner life, but also perhaps, understanding that realm of kind of, when you are elderly and you aren't being feeling like you're taken advantage of. I was reading another interview that you said, perhaps you'd had experience with your parents that you could kind of draw on in that respect.
Preparation wise, Karl and I talked a lot about, yes, it is loosely based on his grandmother, but there's only so much. But I've played a lot of backwoods people that have come from rough backgrounds, so I sort of know that element. That was the other side that drew me to, was the sort of the importance of the social aspect of the truth of the matter of what goes on, particularly in my country, in America and in North America, where the elderly are are they're put aside, they're not worthy anymore. And both my parents, even though I lived in Los Angeles and they were divorced, I would fly home and care for them. My mom with Alzheimer's, and then my father, who lived to be 96. And even though nothing like this, as tragic as this happened, it does happen, and I have heard of it, and it can be corporate, and there be it's greed and politicians. But I think about my parents and what would have been like if that they had no one to take care of them. And I saw, that the healthcare business is difficult. I saw a lot of things that were difficult to watch and that made me very angry, and very sad to see so many people that have had such full, beautiful lives. It's not easy to get old, and I think the healthcare system's getting better in general, but this kind of scam and stuff needs to be brought to light, because there's some people that have no one to fend for to help them. And my parents, I was lucky to have them to take care of.
And for you, Karl, I guess in that respect, thinking of that kind of social commentary aspect of it, and even the world, the look and feel of it, can be quite bleak in some ways. But the spark the audience gets is from this character of Anne. And is there kind of, I don't know, a sense of sort of vindication or something satisfying about, in the real world, perhaps we don't have those moments where we can get back at an unjust system. We can't get back at corporations. Whereas in the film world, we can kind of have that moment.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's exactly right. I mean, I've, sometimes called it a revenge film against old age itself. And that sort of takes a little explaining, because it's essentially what you were just getting at. The beginning of the film, she's taking care of this elderly husband who can't take care of himself. And, we're expected to do that. And it makes sense that we do that. But at the same time, she's still young at heart and vital and full of energy. And her life has become a prison. In real life, that's just how it is. In a sense, in this film, she's able to break free and make her mark and sort of take a stand against all kinds of bad things going on. So, and then on another level, it's also the fact that the elderly are just generally ignored in society. They're marginalized, they're ignored. They're just not really, no one really wants to hear what they have to say. They're not seen in films. And so that's another way, by standing up, by taking action. In a sense, it's a form of revenge against that, against not being seen at all. And as you know, in the film, it's not just the violence. There are other things as well. I mean, she has this relationship, another thing you don't often see in film. And it's just basically, you could sort of say her character is almost, without ever saying it verbally, it's almost like just a howl that's saying, I'm still here, I'm still alive.
I was just going to compare one of the first scene in the film where Anne is in the doctor's office, and the doctor doesn't even look at her and doesn't listen to her. And my mom had Alzheimer's, and before it got bad, the doctor just completely dismissed her. Her friend was in there, and you did not want to mess with my mother, because she could get very angry when you don't see her. It's like, talk to me. I'm not gone yet. Tell me, ask me. And I saw the same thing with my father, where they don't want to listen. And it's so important to listen to what our elders have to say.
Absolutely. And in terms of those different scenes, I mean, I wonder, because the violence is quite sparing. There are a lot of moments of tension, but actually where it sort of, tips over into overt violence is only here, there, and everywhere. But would you find those scenes more difficult, or perhaps some of the other ones? I mean, I know you have this romantic scene that you share with Joseph, and I know in the love song was your first on-screen kiss. So I don't know how you found that experience.
Love Song was my first on-screen kiss, and The G is my first time nudity sex scene. So it's been quite an adventure as I've turned 60. And Carl was wonderful with that. He knew that I was pretty self-conscious, and he made it very comfortable for me. And it's lovely to see older people still vital, and that those desires and passions don't go away. And particularly Hollywood doesn't show it. They're afraid of showing it. They just want to show the young people. So it was very important to the film, and I'm glad that I did it, and I felt in really, really good hands. Everybody was very comfortable. And so thank you for that.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, that's, very nicely said by Dale, but at the same time, and I think we did handle everything very sensitively and collaboratively. But going in as an actor, you never know exactly how it's going to be. And it takes a lot of guts to go for it and to fully commit like Dale did throughout the film. And so, thank you. Thank you for that.
And Rock Lafortune, who plays Joseph, was just lovely and terrific, and spoke to me. And we're both married, and we talked about it, and so it's icing on the cake when you have a wonderful partner that is on the same page with you, and sensitive, and you care for each other, so that you're both comfortable and you trust them.
And ultimately, what do you hope people take away from watching the film? And I guess just maybe if you could also add a few words, what it means, to be having it there at the Glasgow Film Festival. I'm sorry, I couldn't be there.
Well, I'd say two things in terms of what I want people to take away from the film. I mean, everything we've been talking about, all of these elements are there, they're present in the film. But it's not explicitly political. That was not my goal. It just by setting it in this context, it is implicitly political. Just by having an older female lead, that's a major statement as a film. And there is no other role that I know of like this. I know there's a lot of much older men doing roles like this, somewhat like this. So all of this is there. And I think there's like a lot of nuance in the character throughout. At the same time, so that's one thing. I mean, I think that's what gives the film layers. At the same time, I mean, it is a dark thriller, and it's just a badass character and a dark thriller, and something that I think audiences have really responded to. So those are the two sort of sides of it. And being in Glasgow, I mean, it's my first time in Glasgow. It's amazing. I love it here, and people have been cool. So yeah, it's great. It's really exciting. It's not easy for indie films to get out into the world, and so far this one has been getting out there, and so that's pretty special.
I'd say another thing, and little bit of this. The film I did a love song, or that they're completely different. There's I think ultimately it's hopeful, that people can change their lives, and not have to, just lie down and take it. You can fight and have a voice, and it can be difficult, but there is still life to be had after a certain age, as hopefully more people will pay more attention to the elderly. But I think ultimately, fighting for your life, fighting to protect your family, and a little bit of hope. And for me, Glasgow, I've never been to Scotland. I've always wanted to come. My father has traced. Yeah, his family was actually from mostly Scots-Irish. So it's my roots, and it's nice to be in a place where I feel like maybe one day was my home years ago, hundreds of years ago.
Oh, that's lovely. I think I've used up all my time, but thank you so much for sharing all that with me. Really enjoy presenting the film there in Glasgow, and best of luck with your future projects as well. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So nice to chat to you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.